Indonesia is an archipelago full of volcanoes and rainforests in the East Pacific Ocean, and it's beautiful. 50,000 years ago, people might not have been here. But 40,000 years ago, a group of people called the Austronesians found a land bridge and had a fun time colonizing the islands. They bring over the Dong San culture and did cool fun stuff like planting rice and casting bronze and sacrificing buffalo, because that's what the gods are into, apparently. The West Javans make some clay pottery. Now we have a place to store our stuff. Whoa, here comes Indian culture, spreading all over the place through trade and conquest. We now have Hinduism and Buddhism and huge monuments to Hinduism and Buddhism, like these giant statues, these plinths. Now we have connections to the rest of the world, so we can make trading kingdoms like the Srivijaya or the Sailantra, because everyone wants our spicy memes. One Hindu thalassocracy is better than all the other ones, so it decides to dominate the islands. It's called the Majapahit. Pronounce it right the first time. You can fight me, Bill Wirtz. Anyway, they usher in the golden age of Indonesia, and they even managed to defeat, wait for it, the Mongols! We'd play the montage, but that is unoriginal and basic, who've successfully conquered most of everywhere, so I guess that makes Indonesia the exception to the exception. The Majapahit makes more islands part of itself. Now we're rich from all this trade, so you can start making really nice art. Temples, statues, puppets, masks, batik fabric. You got yourself a cultural identity right there. Oh no, the Majapahit are declining. Who will rule us now? Don't worry about it, say the Islamic traders who have been swiftly spreading their religion and forms of government all over the place, except Bali. Bali likes its fun Hindu gods too much and also doesn't have enough trade. Now we can establish sultanates and be even more connected to the rest of the world. Now our spices are so popular and well known that the Portuguese are willing to try to conquer the Indian Ocean to get them. Wait, no, the arbitrary line we drew dividing the world between you and Spain says you can't have that land. Whatever, man, just redraw the arbitrary line. Oh, okay, we can totally do that. So the Portuguese seize the Moluccas and Malacca, but they forget they are only a smaller, less Inquisition-y version of Spain, and therefore incapable of maintaining a huge spice empire. So now the land is up for grabs, and it's anyone's game. Anyone except the people who are actually living in Indonesia in the first place. The Dutch take the initiative and swoop on in and conquer places like Malacca and Batavia. No, not that Batavia. Yeah, that Batavia. They have an unfair advantage because they have an East India Company, a chartered company with endless resources that is too big to fail. Until it fails in 1799 and the government has to step in and rule Indonesia directly. The British and the Dutch are having an argument over who should take over the world, and the British win in 1811. Lord Minto and Stamford Raffles sail on in and establish a government and abolish slavery, and it seems like this is going to be the start of a new British colony that will last forever. Until 1814, when they give everything right back to the Dutch. The Indonesian people are not happy with these decisions, especially Prince Diponegoro, who is tired of being a prince of a country clearly ruled by other people. So he starts a war in 1825, and it takes the Dutch 5 years and the death of 200,000 people to get them to stop. Prince Diponegoro is exiled to an island where he dies, and the Dutch get busy exploiting the remaining Indonesians so they can sell super cheap spices and rices. They switched to a free market system in 1870, but this basically just means the mistreated government-employed plantation workers become mistreated private-employed plantation workers. Then the Dutch, realizing that mistreating all these people is bad for PR, so they introduced an ethical policy that didn't do much for most people. But they did build schools to educate some Indonesian elites, accidentally introducing them to nationalism and liberalism. The educated people quickly realized that independence was a thing that all the cool countries had and started demanding it. It's time for World War II, and the Dutch are having a hard time controlling their conquered territories due to becoming the conquered territory of Germany. The Japanese take advantage of this and conquer Indonesia in 1942. Oh cool, we're not Dutch anymore. Thanks for freeing us, Japanese friends. We're not your friends. And what do you mean, free? And the Japanese quickly began violently controlling everyone until they started losing the war, and it was convenient to let the Indonesians have freedom, just in case they wanted to form an alliance. Once the war was over, the nationalists got busy asserting independence before the Dutch could come back and muck everything up again, which they tried to do in 1947 and failed because the Indonesians had the support of mysterious outside forces. USA, USA, USA. So now there's a new guy in charge who's actually from Indonesia, and his name is Sukarno, and he's super democratic. He's a parliament and everything. But in 1957, he gets tired of the parliament and makes Indonesia a guided democracy, where the parliament doesn't parliament as much as it used to. The opposition gets so mad it makes its own parliament, and the communists get so mad they try to take over the country. But they fail, and lots of communists, and semi-communists, and slightly communists, and communists who look vaguely communist, are executed. Sukarno is replaced by Suharto, who strengthens the economy but also low-key turns the elections into meaningless facades. The country has a financial crisis in 1997, and Suharto can't handle it, so he resigns before anyone could assassinate him or pillage his house. So a new guy called Abdurrahman Wahid steps in, and surprise, he was actually elected into office, so that's pretty cool. Until everyone gets tired of him two years later and elects Megawati Sukarnoputri. And if she looks familiar, it's because she's the eldest daughter of the guy who hated communists so much. She gets kicked out 3 years later and is replaced by Yudhoyono, who was president for a solid while until 3 years ago when Widodo won an election that it was almost a tie. People are still salty about it. So now the economy is doing pretty well and there's a growing middle class, and that makes Indonesia part of the cool Southeast Asian Tigers Club, which is pretty exclusive. You're not allowed to join. The environment's not doing too great. The population is getting much bigger, and there's a whole bunch of haze in the air, which we should have seen coming because we keep slashing and burning the rainforest, and that tends to create problems. But hey, at least we're not Dutch anymore. Okay, bye!